Shalom. Call Halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Raha HaKadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the globe. My name is Barad Debal, coming to you from the GMS campus, Indianapolis. And to all those listening and learning to you, I say Shalom, especially to you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians that make up the 12 tribes of Israel. Today, just do a quick hit, Deuteronomy 28, verse 34 and 44. Got a video to pretty much back up the truth of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Matter of fact, we'll go let the Most High word be true and every man a liar. Let's get that. This is Romans chapter 3. Get the KJV. This is Romans chapter 3, verse 3. It says, "For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High, Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai, without effect?" It says, Most High forbid. Yea, let the Most High, Yahweh, be true, and every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. So it's the topic of the day. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 43 and 44. It says, "The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low." He says, "He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail." Now, this happened, that which is then is now. This happened at many different points to the children of Israel. But now, speaking of these last days, when we had occupied, starting with, the Northern Kingdom occupied America. What the land is called America was in the Bible, it was a land, Azareth, where never mankind dwelt. We had the Edomites, starting with, you had the conquistadors, the Europeans, the French, but the Edomites came into the land and eventually used very deceitful and many tactics. And as you can see, to this very day, the native tribes are no longer in their position. We always bring out Sirach, where it tells us to never trust thine enemy. And he always talks about how eventually he would take thy place. And so there were many tactics, deceitful tactics, treaties in which they had made with our people in the end to actually take over the land, and then claim that the very people who once occupied and owned the land should be deported. Let's just say that, because of course many of those people were natives at one point of this land, or the forefathers. And then of course they brought over, the northern, the southern kingdom, and the people became slaves here. And then when there was a time in which the people had points of freedom, or what would look like to be free, or emancipation proclamation, which was just the transferring of ownership, of our people. When they built many communities, when they couldn't put their money in banks, they started to thrive within the communities, but never had a military for protection. And of course, the so-called white man went into those nations, to those cities, and there's many examples, and they took over those cities, took over the land. In some places they covered with water Like, for example, Manhattan was one place in which was once occupied and ran by so-called blacks. You had Tuskegee, which is Wall Street, just to name a few, and you just do the history. But this is all done because the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, said that these things would happen. And as that started to happen, you had other nations, started to migrate, within the communities. And then things started to be set pretty much as Deuteronomy 43 and 44 has mentioned. It says, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. So our native Indians now, a land in which they once occupied, now had to go to these Edomites for the one of all things. The southern kingdom being slaves and coming into America and knowing the history of our people, had to then come to the Edomites, so-called white man, for the one of all things. And in the process of all of that, looking for equal rights and all of these things, there were lots of terror that was happening upon our people. That's why in Obadiah it talks about, for the violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. And so all these things are coming out. The Lord is exposing, making Esau bare for all the things in which they've done, because they've always proclaimed to be doing these things in righteousness, which was utter wickedness. So let's get let me get this in Deuteronomy 28 verse 43. And I asked, who is the nation in this passage? It says, the foreigners residing among you will rise above you higher and higher, but you will sink lower and lower. So there are many examples of which so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians were redlined. They were placed in certain areas. They weren't able to receive loans, any type of monies or real subsidies, starting with the so-called black man. Then they did the in the house or out of the house rule, started to give women subsidies, which was part of their plan. When you read Proverbs 6, where it's sowing discord, among brethren, where in Deuteronomy 28 also speaks about the eye of the man and the woman being evil toward each other and toward the children. Okay, sowing discord, creating confusion, and of course, other nations coming into the community or into the Americas, and then coming into the so-called black communities, even unto this day, and thriving. And so it says this passage is part of the covenant warns Moses gives to Israel, both entering Canaan, the nation, and or group being referenced in this section is not usually understood. Okay, so I just want to jump down. It says it refers broadly to foreign peoples living among and around, ruling over Israel, if Israel broke the covenant of the Most High. Okay, so these are people outside of the children of Israel. Now, because sometimes there can be confusion as far as strangers as you start to read, go in the New Testament and certain things, but we're not going to go that in depth. Just want to stick to this point. It says the surrounding chapter describes consequences such as foreign dominance, and this is what we see this day, economic decline. We see we are the poorest of all the nations in which we've been scattered. And this is by the word of the Heavenly Father that we would go to our enemy. Again, like I mentioned before, for the one of all things. It says exiled. It says a military defeat, because we are without a government, without a military. It says historically, interpreters have connected these warnings to invasions and domination by powers such as Assyria, Babylonia, Persia, Greece, and the Roman Empire. Okay, now of course, like we said, that which is then is now. That's why we read the historical points within the Bible, like for example the Maccabees, which goes into the Greeks, but they fail to put in that America is one of those powers as well, and the Bible speaks about the mystery Babylon, okay, which is also known as America. And so bringing all of these things, when you read those histories, America has completely overshadowed, you know, with their great wickedness, taking on all the things in which these other Assyria, Babylonia, Persia, Greece, and Rome, you know, and coupling it all together and putting those things upon the blacks. Like Assyria, the Assyrians were very known for their gruesome tactics, you know, as far as the torture and things of that nature, you know. And you read about the Greeks, their dominance, but then when you look in the Maccabees and how they did, you know, how they conquered many lands and how they went into Israel and how they dealt with our people, also the Romans, all right, and all of them having our people as slaves. Okay, so America is definitely no different. Now I want to get this video, and then I'm gonna get a few scriptures, and then we'll be done. Excuse me.
Why do you think that is, that every other culture could come into our community and sell food, but we can't sell soul food in these other communities? Why do you think that is?
I seen a video, and it was talking about, it was this Asian woman, and she was talking about when Asians was starting to come over to, more Asians were starting to come over to America, and they were going to banks and trying to get loans, and they wasn't giving them loans because they didn't want them going into white communities, but they was giving them loans to come specifically into our communities and set up shop.
Asian Americans were redlined from opening businesses in white neighborhoods because white people didn't want Asian Americans operating in their neighborhoods and didn't want Asian Americans profiting off of white people. But because the positionality of Asian Americans is weaponized to oppress black people, Asian Americans were being given loans to open businesses in black communities, even though black people were not able to receive loans to open businesses in their own communities. Black wealth is essentially paid out twice when it goes to Asian American businesses, once when the individual pays for the goods or services, and then again when the Asian American business owner removes the profit from the community.
Why do you think that?
All right, so this is historical facts. It's a historical fact. So this is let's get these last few scriptures and we'll end it. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 7. It says, and the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So the things in which, because again, when they came into the communities, you had the Chinese shop as we see today. We have the Chinese restaurants. We have the beauty boutiques, the hair salons, or excuse me, the just say wig stores, you know, where they buy, you know, things for like all types of items for their hair. Then you have other restaurants that they have within the community, and then you have like the nail salons, right? Many of those salons within the community that are thriving and doing well are ran by the Asian community. Okay, so you see the Moabites, the Ammonites, and all of them within the communities. The Japanese, the Chinese, but then you also have other nations who've come in. It's just this particular video stood out. This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 15. It says, "For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head. And many of them understood what was going on, but they never fought for us, which was fine, because the Lord, said that this would happen unto us. And so all these nations have gotten rich, off the backs of our people. And eventually they will then have servitude and have to borrow, from us. It's just how the Lord placed it. This is the Rome. Oh, I got that already. Last scripture. This is the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 2, and I'm going to read verse 7, and the point is in 10. It says, and he said, "Woe is me, wherefore was I," and this was during the time of the Greeks. Okay. Let me see. Let's read one so you can understand who's speaking. It says, "In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joreb, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin." Okay, jump. He says, "And he said, Woe is me, wherefore was I born to see the miseries of my people and of the holy city." Okay, Israel and Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. All right, so the place was ransacked, but also the people. Our women were ravished, taken. Our children, you're going to see. You're here. It says to dwell there, wherein it was delivered into the hand of the enemy. And this is, again, that's spoken by Moses through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to give to the people. It says, "And the sanctuary into the hand of strangers." And it says, to this day, the people are in the hand of these Edomites, as it tells in the scriptures, and we're in the last days, that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. It says, "Her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity." Right? There's more into that, but good. We'll keep going. "Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy." Isn't that not happening with our people even to this day? The modern day sword is the gun. All right. And we had a lot of police brutalities even to this day that has happened to our people. It says, "What nation have not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils?" All right. It says, "All of her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman, she has become a bond slave." So the Lord has made good on his word, and we see it has come to pass, and we know the things at which he has spoken aforetime that's going to come to pass in the near future. So we know that the rest of his words are going to be true. So I hope that this lesson was edifying, uplifting, exhorting to the elect body of true believers. Before I end, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rahahakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the globe. Until next time, all those listening and learning to you, I say, Shalom.